John Fredericks, America's Godzilla of Truth. He's popular and proficient in picking politics with prophetic precision. And now J. Fred's picking sports. Are y'all ready for this? All across the airwaves and streams of the John Fredericks Media Network, John, Jack, and Nate, three guys that are pretty wise when it comes to picking winners. Football, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf, UFC battles, you name it. When the game is on your mind and money's on the line, Godzilla Wins is your guide to picking winners. Before you make that play, hear what J. Fred has to say. Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Oh yeah, for entertainment purposes only.
Good morning and welcome to the Godzilla Wins Saturday Pick Show. I'm your host for the time being, Jack Fredericks. I'm here with my father, the Godzilla of Truth, John Fredericks, as well as senior contributors Nate Perry, Dan Angel, and Mitch Rogers. Happy to be here on this Saturday. Just getting up the show sheet because I forgot what we're supposed to talk about. So just give me a minute. First hour is going to be baseball. I know that. Second hour is going to be NFL. That's exciting. Let me see what I have.
What time is it out
there? Here we go.
Was it five in the, what time is it? 6? What do you got, pack time?
Yeah, it's 6 a.m.
6 a.m., yeah.
You got to fire up that Beard Vet coffee, baby. You fire that up. Let's go.
Yeah, I left the coffee inside. I was not prepared
last year
to
I was getting on at 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's
called
that's
an
true.
adjustment period. It's an adjustment period. Like, welcome to Nate's world when he was in Reno.
I can't believe it's been a year since it happened, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm not going to sit outside for 2 hours in Arizona doing the show, and I don't have a way to charge the device. So, like I said, I'll be here for about 30 minutes until my computer dies. So it's all great.
The best 30 minutes of your life.
Yeah, that's right. So we're gonna do some NFL to start the show. We'll talk about Chris Sale's incredible comeback, which has been pretty interesting. Do a little bit of bunch of injured players coming back from the MLB, so that'll be fun to see which ones will push their team over the edge. There's a new rule coming out in baseball that we'll talk about, the possibility of a 6-inning minimum starting pitcher. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but it could. Then right before the top of the hour, we're going to talk some U.S. men's soccer and the start of the Premier League. Dan will do a little bit of that, give us some picks for soccer. Then we're going to turn to the NFL at 10 a.m. Eastern time, do some preseason week 2 takeaways. The Falcons making some moves right before the season starts. Little Gardner Minshew update. We love following Minshew, and then we'll do a little FedEx St. Jude Championships picks because Jay Delsing's pick, Aaron Rye, hit last week, so Dad's now 4 for 5 in golf, and we got some winners today as well. He can't lose those golf bets. 4 for 5 in golf's pretty incredible. Now, Godzilla Wins and all of its subsidiaries are for entertainment purposes only. So if you are listening or if you feel like you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537 in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 800-327-5050. Visit gamblinghelpline-ma.org. In Massachusetts, call 877-G-HOPE-Y. Text HOPE-Y to 467-369. New York, call 1-800-NEXT-7 in Arizona, 1-522-4700 Kansas, New Hampshire, 888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut, 1-800-BADSOFF in Iowa, visit opgr.org in Oregon. Okay. Glad to see everybody. Like I said before, I'm sitting outside on this balcony here, and I don't have a way to charge my device. So at some point, I'll just disappear into the ether. But I may be...
there's a whole bunch of things to buy. Let me just, I know I'm your father, and like I got to do the dad thing here. So let me help you out. I'm not a technology genius, but they have this amazing device that we use here on the RV buses called an extension cord. Like you plug it in all the way over there and it goes out all the way over here. I got about 6 of them. I can send you one. Then you can go to Best Buy. You get those battery chargers. They're about, I don't know, $27, $29. You can get one of those. That'll charge your battery. You charge it up at night, and then you can go out. You get a couple hours of extra battery on your computer. I'm just helping you out as your dad because I'm always here for your son. I'm always here.
You just don't want to have to host the show. How's the Democratic convention?
Yeah,
I heard that you don't
I'll do anything. Yeah.
Anything
right.
but that.
John's trying anything he can to get out of my soccer segment.
That's right.
What time is that? That's when I fill my coffee up.
I know.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter how many correct scores I hit.
I don't even know. I played soccer in high school. I still can't figure out why people watch it. Like, I went to the cup there. I saw the England USA game. That was fun, but ball goes back and forth. I mean, when you're playing it, it's kind of fun, but sit there and watch it. I just don't.
Wait a minute. What England USA match are you referring to?
All of England.
Probably like 94.
World Cup. I guess semifinal or something.
2022 World Cup. Okay.
Yeah, World Cup. Yeah.
England didn't qualify in '94.
No, well, it was a World Cup last year, and it was a tie.
It was a scoreless draw.
England had like 90 shots on goal. We had like one.
Yeah, it was terrible tactics by both coaches, and that's actually why the one reason why the U.S. is going to be having a new coach for the next World Cup.
Okay. So we'll do a little bit of soccer at the top of the hour here. Before we do some of the baseball, let's do some weekly obsessions, what we're obsessing over this week. Let's start with Nate, since Dad's had plenty of time to talk already on the show. We'll give someone else a chance to say something. Nate, go ahead and give us your weekly obsession.
Man, my weekly obsession is just that football's almost back. It's officially the most boring time of year to talk about some things in a bar. Like, nobody ever wants to talk about fantasy, but it's like all I'm thinking about. And I'm not going to it's terrible radio to talk about fantasy, but it's all I'm thinking about. It's just like, I am just deep diving into mock drafts, trying to find, sort of steals, late rounds. I'm doing the whole thing. And it's consuming quite a bit of my time. Probably too much, because I actually should be doing work stuff now that I have a job. But I'm not. I'm just reading about fantasy football instead. So that's been my weekly obsession, probably my monthly obsession, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
I mean, I wouldn't say you're known for your work ethic, so I'm not surprised you're
Okay.
focused.
All right.
But
you're in a bad mood, you don't need to drag down the whole team, dude.
Yeah. I know. I'm in a bad mood. It's 90 degrees out. I'm sitting outside. It's 90 degrees out here already at 6 a.m. So I'm already sweating. It's going to be 95 by the time the show's over. So it's just not the greatest environment. But I don't play fantasy football, but I'm sure some of y'all do. I just don't. I don't know. I suck at it, and then I never remember to set my lineup, so it's just not for me. But I know everybody else does it. So, Mitch, what's your weekly obsession?
More along the lines with Nate. I found myself watching 2 hours of ESPN fantasy shows back to back. I'm also getting excited about preseason football and putting some bets down today. Probably week 2. This is when they play the starters a little more. There's only 3 weeks, right? So you only get this is the game. This is the good preseason game. So, looking at little Dolphins, Jaguars, just mix it up a little bit. But, I'm ready to start putting some money back on some NFL games starting today. Obsessed.
Yeah.
Oh, and the breakdancer. The breakdancer girl.
Yeah.
Oh, the
The ray gun story just refuses to end.
What happened now?
I don't know.
She's offended. And she's getting
Why?
made fun of.
What is she offended? What is she offended by now?
The hate has been devastating.
The hate is. She's going to write a nice book about it.
Oh my goodness! Don't be a hater. Be a lover. Like me.
I'm from Virginia.
What is there to hate?
Virginia's for lovers.
That's right.
I'm in Pennsylvania today. Where are we, Larry? Wilkes-Barre. Great town.
Very cool.
I thought you were in Chicago for the convention.
No, I bailed on that, and your mom talked me out of it. She said it's a bad idea. No.
Is that because they wouldn't give you a?
It's just there's too much going on there.
Oh yeah, you're going to do the pop-up tent.
Huh?
Right. I mean, you didn't have a press pass, so what were you going to do? Just shout at them from across the street?
Yeah, we were at the Trump Hotel, but it just didn't feel good. The whole thing didn't feel good, and we got we got rallies going on here tomorrow, and so today I'm with the Trump rally is over in Wilkes-Barre. So we're going to be doing that. He's got a economic thing he's rolling out Monday in York, Pennsylvania, at 4:00. So we're going to do that. So look, if without getting into politics, Trump's got to win 2 states, Georgia, Pennsylvania, he wins. So that's where I'm going to focus all my time.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's those 2 states where
That's
you've
it.
lived. I'm sure he'll stay on message for his economic topic. I'm sure that'll be great. Dan, what's your weekly obsession? Then I'll do mine.
I mean, probably just the fact that we're 1 week away from college football, and I get to start thinking about games that actually matter. I don't play fantasy football like you, so that hasn't crossed my mind at all. Like it's been over a decade since I last played fantasy football, but we got college football coming. We got Florida State, Georgia Tech from Ireland next week. So starting to do my research for that to get a piece up on Godzilla wins early next week. And my other obsession is I honestly think that the Indianapolis Indians, the Pirates AAA affiliate, are just screwing around with St. Paul this week, because I've been to 3 straight games for one of the jobs that I have, and each time they just they just fall behind early, and then we'll just pull 3-4 runs out of nowhere late off the bullpen and get another win. So, like, if there is a way to bet flow of the game for AAA baseball, just throw a bet on the Indians to fall behind and then win the game anyway, because it's now happened 4 games in a row this week for their series with St. Paul.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's funny. I've got a couple weekly obsessions, but I'll stick with the one that's minor league baseball and then move on to some other stuff. The minor league baseball obsession is this: the Brooklyn AAA team. I think it's a AAA team. I think it's a Yankees team.
I think they're AA and the Mets.
AA. Or okay, well, I got all that wrong, but I know they're in Brooklyn. They do like a Seinfeld day every year, and I remember it last year because I saw a bunch of clips of they do the Elaine dancing like contest probably during the 7th inning stretch, which is kind of hilarious. But they got people go to the game and dress up like all sorts of different Seinfeld characters, which is pretty fun. And so I read some article about how it's kind of exploding, and they have 7,000 people who go to this Seinfeld day, and that's not normal attendance for that Brooklyn team. So if you haven't looked up some of the clips of the Brooklyn AAA Seinfeld day, you should go ahead and do it. My other thing that I've been kind of thinking about that's sports related is I started reading Nate Silver's new book called On the Edge, which is pretty prescient, I think, just for this show or Godzilla Wins in particular, because of the fact that it has to do, 1, with gambling. That's what most of the book's about. And then 2, with poker, which, I guess is a sport. Although I was talking about this with my partner yesterday, and she was like, no, poker's a game, not a sport. Like, sport has to be defined with some physical activity, which I'm not totally sure I agree with, but I guess I kind of see her argument. But anyway, so that book, On the Edge, Nate Silver, it's pretty good. I mean, it's like his 3rd book, and I think it's the book that's mostly about, all his books are about probability, and risk taking, stuff like that. But this one particularly has a whole bunch of interesting stuff about poker. So if you like poker, you may learn some stuff. I mean, I don't really know how to play poker, to be honest with you. It's just not my game at the casino. Mostly about, but I do. I don't know anything about poker either. So it's kind of interesting to learn. If you know the history of poker, it might not be as interesting, at least as far as I am into the book, but it kind of goes in all sorts of different places. He talks about, he interviews Sam Bankman-Fried a ton, and Sam Altman, all these Silicon Valley crypto guys, AI guys. So it's kind of an interesting book. It's really long. I think it's probably too long. I don't know why he needed to write a 450-page book. I think that's probably 200 pages too long for Nate Silver, but maybe it's amazing, and I'll read the whole thing. So I'll keep you guys updated about the Nate Silver On the Edge book. It is pretty prescient to kind of what we do here at Godzilla Wins, considering one, it's about gambling, and two, it's, I think, relatively about sports. Nate Silver does a lot of stuff with sports. So look, before we move on to the baseball stuff, we got to talk a little bit about Healthy Cell. I'm going to go grab some coffee in a minute because I left it inside because I didn't think I would have to do the show from this balcony here. So everything is inside, including the famous extension cords that John was talking about earlier. But even though I haven't been able to drink my beard vat coffee yet, I already did my Healthy Cell joint health and relief supplement for today. Been having like a ton of back issues, which I think is just something that happens when you get older. I that's what I'm just noticing. I don't know why I just have this back issue. I mean, I pinched a nerve a while ago while like trying to squat too much, which that ended my entire career squatting. So now I don't do that anymore. So lesson learned there. But the Healthy Cells joint health and mobility really has helped me in like relieve some of that back pain in ways that like Advil and naproxen or whatever, it just doesn't help. Like Aleve, I mean, it might help for like an hour, but it really doesn't. That Healthy Cell joint health and mobility, if you take it every day, and you have to take it every day otherwise, because it has to have time to kind of build up in your system. But if you take it every day, like it will give you some relief in those areas, whether it's if you have tennis elbow or your wrists are hurting, your knees or whatever, or for me, my back. It will give you that relief. And so what you can do is you can go to healthycell.com. That's healthycell.com. Promo code Godzilla gets you 20% off all of your Healthy Cell needs. And they have a ton of products, and we'll talk about some more of their products later in the show. But I just want to talk about joint health mobility because it's on my mind, because I just took it and it's been giving me some great relief. So you have juice, whatever, go ahead and try Healthy Cells joint health and mobility. www.healthycell.com. Click on the joint health and mobility. Once you get to the cart, that's when you put in your promo code just Godzilla, 20% off, which is a great deal. Okay, let's talk a little bit about baseball here. I wanted to start with Chris Sale because he's just he's an interesting story in that he has been beset by injuries now for the last 3 or 4 years, or maybe 2 years, I guess. And it's been difficult for him to return. He had a big injury, but then he also had a setup freak injuries. Like a baseball hit him in the wrist during batting practice, and he crashed his bicycle while going to get food or something, and that set him back. So he's had a ton of weird injuries that have beset his career in the last couple years. And now, pitching for the Atlanta Braves, he is back to form, 35 years old, and it looks like he could win the Cy Young. I mean, for the National League, not guaranteed, but he's in that conversation. He's been pitching so well, especially for a team like the Braves, who have really needed this after Spencer Strider's injury this year has sidelined their ace. So Dan, I'll start with you because you're one of our baseball guys. We'll just kind of go around. I just want to get everybody's thoughts on this Chris Sale comeback and how interesting this has been, and how important Sale is going to be as the Braves start to move towards the playoffs. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really impressive how he's just overcome, as you said, a terrible injury history and come back to produce such an incredible season. I mean, it's really, really hard to come back from injury repeatedly. Like, you can do it a couple times, but there's a famous line that when you have only a couple settings, dominant and disabled, there are only so many times you can push the dominant button before you lose the ability to push the disabled button. And somehow Sale hasn't lost it. So it's been really impressive to see what he can do. It helps that he has a good team behind him. I mean, he's also been playing for some less than great teams before getting to Atlanta. So it seems like just a combination of getting back to form and right place at the right time.
It was really cool. MLB.com had a really interesting article that was chronicling the other pitchers that have had similar success at that age of 35, but they could only find maybe one example in history of somebody that was gone for 3 or 4 years, or for injury or whatever, and was able to then repeat it, and then to get this win above replacement. I mean, he's at 4.8 right now. We're going to get to 5, and Cy Young. It's not even conversation. It'd be crazy if he doesn't win the Cy Young. I mean, he's odds-on favorite, minus 150 right now. But what's crazy is at his age, and I'm such a cynic. 20 years ago, if I saw anybody doing this, I'd be like, yeah, we know what's up. But Chris Sale's not doing the juice and the steroids and stuff like that. So it is truly remarkable, and it's a great story to watch. And you know what? Until like 2 years ago, I assumed he had won a Cy Young. I remember someone mentioned that to me, and I was like, yeah, of course he's won one. But the fact he's never won a Cy Young is amazing to me, because he was one of the most dominant pitchers, especially for that 5 or 6 year span. So it's going to be really fitting when he does win this Cy Young, unless he crashes down the stretch. But it's an amazing story.
I mean, it's totally incredible. I mean, like, you look at his stats, and yeah, I mean, he's what? He's second in wins, he's second in ERA, third in strikeouts, fourth in WHIP. Like, those are nutty stats for a dude that's 35 years old. That really, like, I mean, he hasn't had an injury-free season since 2017. That's insane. Like, a month ago, he'd already pitched more innings than he had basically in 7 years, like in a season. So, I mean, to be able to like string this together basically just out of nowhere, like, I mean, the guy looked washed, not just for like a year or two, but like basically for like the last like 5 or 6 years. Like, he looked like he might just be done, and he just kept hanging around and finally got healthy. I mean, it's an insane story to be able to do this at 35 as a pitcher with his injury history. To be able to put it together now is just like, I mean, it's like unthinkable. I mean,
is he on Healthy Cell?
I think he has a cup of beard vet before it goes out.
He's got the prototype that we all need.
I think he's taking collagen too.
He sleeps with a MyPillow, wakes up with the beard vet.
I mean, the guy is you got to love watching him. And he's one of the most dominant left-handers. I mean, he was dominant on the White Sox when he first came up. He was basically the cornerstone of the Red Sox of the Red Sox rotation when they were back making the playoffs. And, now he's with Atlanta, and he's basically saved their season as far as I'm concerned. Of course, I got a special place for him in my heart, because Joe modeled his three-quarter delivery after him. So he throws the exact same way as a left-hander. So he's down, doesn't go overhand. He's just about a tad under 3/4. And so that's what your brother does, Jack. So he studied him a lot. But listen, I mean, Atlanta is in basically a battle right now to the death with the Mets for that final wild card. You take Sale out of the equation, I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs with all the injuries they've had. So Sale is basically saving their season as far as I'm concerned. And this battle with the Mets down to the wire, this is going to be one of the most fun battles. Yeah, I was not in favor of extending the wild card because I'm old school and I hate change and I'm a traditionalist and blah, blah, blah. But now I love it because you got all these teams in it that would not be in it. It's kind of fun. And so I think MLB did the right thing. But to me, that's going to be one of the fun races to watch right down the wire. What do we got? 6 weeks remaining. Mets, Atlanta, great rivalry. One game, Mets are a game behind them. Nobody else in front of them. So Braves hanging by a thread. It's gonna be fun to watch.
Dad, I'm glad you mentioned that because I've always been curious as to why you've had such a soft spot for Sale in the past. I mean, I definitely have heard just us on the phone in the past, and you've been like, talking about maybe who the Astros could get. You always bring up Chris Sale, and I've always been like, what's his deal with Chris Sale? So I didn't realize that. I had no idea that Joe modeled his 3/4 delivery after Sale. That's really interesting knowledge because I just had no idea. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I was gonna start with you with this segment because I was like, Dad's just always talking about Chris Sale.
Always banging the drum.
So, yeah, always just being like, Chris Sale.
I mean, when you're watching left-hander, and Sale is tall. It's not like Joe's issue. Joe's 5'9". Sale is tall. He's over 6 foot. But when you look at that 3/4 delivery,
6'6".
Yeah, I mean he's a big guy. When you look but he's coming 3/4, and that's. I mean, that thing coming out of a left-hander, when you perfect that, and if you can get some velo, that is just tough to hit because everything looks the same. I mean, that's the one thing that your brothers got. They always said it's like you're throwing a frisbee, like changeup, slider, fastballs, all the same. They're all coming out the same way, and then you don't know where the ball's going. And so that's one of the advantages. Now you're not going to get the 100-mile-an-hour velo without going over the top or higher, obviously, because you lose velo. But you're going to gain vertical. You're going to gain tremendous vertical movement, tremendous horizontal movement, and that's what Sales got when he's on. I mean, he is very tough to hit, and he's a good guy. So I mean, he's just a good guy. And the other reason I like him is because when the Astro scandal happened, Sale was the only guy that said, "This is baloney. We did it. The White Sox did it. Boston did it. I was there. We were doing it. They're just a scapegoat." So he kind of defended us, and he tells the truth. So also, when he was with the White Sox as a young player, I can't remember. I think it was Sid Bream. Somebody got traded to the White Sox, and he was going through a divorce, right? So he's in spring training, and he had to bring his child with him to spring training. So the child would come in the clubhouse. And so the White Sox made a rule, they threw him out. And Sale said, well, if he doesn't come, I'm not coming. I'm just sitting out. I'm not going to spring training. I'm just staying in my hotel until the kid comes back. He's a father trying to like raise his child. And so the guy's just a quality guy, and I wish him well.
You're like Joseph McCarthy with the Astros 2017 trash can scandal. Like, you've got a whole list of everyone who.
I'm still waiting to figure out how Sid Bream is involved.
It might have been a different first baseman, but with some older first baseman, he's going through a divorce. White Sox got him, and he had his child he has child on spring break. That was in the decree. You get your child. And so he took him with him, and he's like 8 or 9. He took him to the clubhouse, and the White Sox were, no, you can't do that. And Sale was like, well, if he's not going, I'm not going. I don't know. It's just
Sid Bream's last appearance in a major league game happened when Chris Sale started kindergarten.
It wasn't Sid Bream, but there was a story about that. Yeah.
I get names
in the.
You're bringing a lot of the Pittsburgh listeners some PTSD when you bring up Sid Bream too. From a favorite player to like what?
Winning a game last night, I did bet the Pirates.
And he was Nick Pirate.
Thank you for breaking your ridiculous 10-game losing streak.
Yeah, I finally did that. Sid Bream day.
An update on the balcony saga. I did find an extension cord and an outlet, so the computer's now charged, but they turned on the sprinklers, so now I'm kind of dodging the sprinklers.
That's perfect.
So this has been fun, but
Arizona substantially less welcoming than Hawaii.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, considering it is already 91 or 2 degrees out here, I wouldn't mind if the sprinklers hit me a couple times just to cool me off. So, but right now we're good. So, if you hear what sounds like rain in the background, it's because the sprinklers just got turned on. So, been a lot of fun so far these 30 minutes. During this next segment, what I kind of wanted to talk about, this was just an article I think on ESPN. They do this type of stuff when they're struggling to find content, and but I think
we're struggling to find content.
Yeah,
we pull it into our show.
Right, but it's interesting. It's an interesting idea. The idea that there's a bunch of injured stars who could boost contenders down the stretch. It's an ESPN Plus article, so if you have ESPN Plus, you can find it. And they name a whole bunch. Verlander's one of them coming back for the Astros, which we can definitely talk about as a bunch of Astros fans. Correa for the Twins is another one I definitely want to talk about because Dad hates Correa. There's JP Crawford. Now you don't hate him. Okay, well, you did forever. Yeah, Ranger Suarez. Let's start with you. I mean, if you want to just talk about one player or a couple players you think, hey, these guys are going to make the biggest impact coming off the injured list. So we'll just kind of go around and see what we think of some of these guys coming back.
Grayson Rodriguez. I mean, if Baltimore doesn't get him back, then the Orioles are probably going to flame out again. I mean, Baltimore just doesn't have enough pitching without him to really realistically get through a 7-game series with the likes of Cleveland or the Yankees or possibly Houston. So if Rodriguez isn't able to get back to form, then this is going to be another wasted year for the Orioles.
Okay, tough words for Dan. Orioles fans got to be nervous about
Well,
about that.
I mean,
But
That's true.
I mean,
though,
yeah, I mean, yes. Would Baltimore fans take this compared to where they were a couple years ago? Absolutely. But this team got swept out of the playoffs last year, and these windows are never very long. And Baltimore, they've got to at least win a series this year. Otherwise, it's going to be tough mentally for this team to come back and do what they've got their eyes on in what is by far the toughest division in the American League, because the Yankees aren't going anywhere. Boston has things figured out. Tampa Bay is not going to be down for long, and Toronto still has talent, even though they haven't put anything together. So there are no weak links in the AL East.
I tell you, I'm with Dan here, and if I'm an O's fan, I don't know. There's something. I don't even know what it is. Something's missing, right? I'm not an O's fan. I don't follow them every day like I do my team, but there's something missing. And the Yankees went through this just horrible stretch. What did they lose? Like 27 out of 17 out of 22 games or something. They went through that dreadful stretch, and they survived. They're a game up. It's like, if you didn't catch them then and get a little space, what do you do now? Something about this team I don't like. Last year, they got swept by the Texas Rangers. It was like deer in the headlights. You could just tell that guys were getting up with guys on base and one out, popping the ball up. You could just feel they just weren't ready. I thought this would be the year, but I don't know, Nate, Jack, Mitch, you guys are baseball guys. Something about this team I don't get. Like, it doesn't scare me. Like, if the Astros were playing them in a 7-game series, I'd be like, yay, we can take these guys. Like, they don't scare me the way the Yankees do, or the way, to be honest, Cleveland does. Cleveland has their 7-game losing streak. Now they're, reeled off 3-4 wins in a row. I mean, this team's tough with that closer. I don't know.
Yeah. So, Nate,
I mean,
go ahead.
I keep looking at, like, if Yamamoto comes back for the Dodgers, I mean, the Dodgers, like, the window's been open forever, and they always seem like they're just a little bit short, and they've recently sort of been a little bit short of, like, starting pitching, it seems like, in the postseason. And Yamamoto coming back for them, I mean, before he went out with the rotator cuff injury, I mean, he was pitching, like, excellent. And, he was reaching sort of velos that he hadn't really reached as a professional before. And everyone was pretty fired up about, him being the sort of next big thing. And if he comes back, I mean, I think it boosts the Dodgers, like, in a big way. I mean, to have, like, a little bit of starting pitching and to be able to roll out, like, 3 really good starters, with, like, Glasnow and Flaherty and him, like, that's monstrous for the Dodgers, I think, when they get to, like, a playoff series.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dodgers certainly are built to go deep in the playoffs. It's tough because we look at them every year and it doesn't seem like they ever seem to get it done. But if ever there were a year to get it done, especially with Yamamoto coming back, I think you're right, Mitch. As far as these guys coming back, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like going back to the AL East too, and the Yankees struggles pitching, especially in the last few weeks. If they get Clark Schmidt back, and he looks like coming back maybe the second week of September. I mean, he had a sub-3 ERA in his 11 starts before going down with injury, and I think the Yankees are desperate if they want to make any sort of run. They need him back. And I know it's a wealth of riches. San Diego's been fine, but I don't know. Fernando Tatis would be fun to see him come back. You haven't really got any updates since the All-Star break, but you see impact already, right? Mookie Betts this week is back, so it's going to be interesting because there were a lot of injured players that could really help out, and also I'm blanking on is it the Mariners? The Mariners have someone coming back too, right? Is that
Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Rodriguez.
Yeah. So this will be interesting because there weren't a lot of crazy deadline moves with all-star players. I mean, there was a few, but it's almost like the people returning from injuries will be just as interesting as the trade deadline.
The thing about the Yankees that I keep thinking we should just put on the show, I guess, but I don't know. Once I do the run sheet, I just kind of forget. Aaron Judge, 44th home run last night. I mean, fastest to 300 home runs since Babe Ruth. I know, Dan, you're kind of definitely more of a stats guy than I am. That's the only stat I really have seen that encompasses just how incredible a feat that is. I mean, I think he actually was faster than Babe Ruth, or right around the same time. I forgot the other players on that list, but I mean, it's just it's pretty incredible to see this guy hit these home runs like this. I mean, I know the Yankees maybe would trade some of that to wins, but just watching him dominate in a way that I think McGuire was on that list. You know, some of those guys who you think, okay, well, asterisks, right, steroids, whatever. I mean, Judge is just a beast physically, athletically. He just hits those home runs, and I don't think.
I mean, we've said it before
put any
on the
type
show.
of asterisks around his name.
We've said it before on the show. If Judge isn't playing as well as he is, then the Yankees are essentially Tampa right now.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, he's been the linchpin of that team. So pretty incredible. Now, I want to hold off for a minute. We're going to get to Justin Verlander. I want Dad to be able to talk about the return of Verlander and possibly Correa, and then we'll get to some other topics in baseball as well. But before we do that, I got to talk about Native Path's collagen powder. I want to talk a little bit about that because I know you've heard my dad raving about how good my stepmom's been feeling and looking since she started taking Native Path collagen powder and krill oil. If you listen to his show Monday through Friday, he rant and raves about it. He won't shut up about it. And so he started taking it too. And now, Dad, you can back me up here. I know you're feeling amazing. So now I had to try it, and the whole family we're all on the path now here. So look, I started taking the krill oil, which is high quality omega-3 fatty acids, which help support healthy inflammation levels for less pain and swelling. You can't go wrong with the krill oil. We talk about that a lot on the show. I've shown you the bottle, and if you're interested in the krill oil, you can still get that from Native Path. They have a ton of wonderful products, and they've got another incredible discount that I've been approved to offer everybody. It's their number one product, over 4 million jars sold, top single ingredient collagen product on the market, and is backed by science to support healthy bones, improve joint pain, boost skin elasticity, minimize deep wrinkles, support healthy hair, and more. They're still giving away awesome frother for free with this special offer as well. So if you don't have the frother, you'll be able to take advantage of that. What you have to do is go to getnativepath.com/GodzillaWins. Godzilla wins like our website for 44% off today. That's just incredible. So what you can do is you can go to getnativepath.com. I'll spell it out for you. GetNativePath.com /Godzilla Wins, just like our show here, for that special offer. It'll take you right to the landing page there. You get 44% off your collagen powder. Just incredible. You get that frother, you get free shipping. Dad, this seems to me to be one of the best deals I think we've been able to offer on the show, at least on Godzilla Wins, in a very long time. And I know that the collagen is very popular with your listeners as well. So I'm happy to be able to offer this to our listeners here. Again, that's getnativepath.com, www.getnativepath.com /Godzilla Wins. Take you right to the landing page, and you'll be able to order the top collagen product on the market. So make sure you take advantage of that special offer, because you get the frother, you get free shipping, and you get the best collagen on the market. Okay.
Plus, I just figured out the frother. I finally figured it out after sending 3 of my ties to the cleaners and ruining 2 shirts that I had to take off at 4:30 a.m. because the thing splashed all over me. I finally figured it out. So now I even got the frother here on the Mega Maga bus. So I got my coffee going, got my Beard Vet going, got my collagen going. I'm feeling great, man. I'm looking great, feeling super. Lost some weight, as you can see. Jack's been very encouraging. I put 50 pounds on when I quit smoking. Never got it off and just gave up. But you take all these different things. But collagen, man, I saw it in Mom and I see it in myself. It is $21. Try it. I mean, you spend that going to the McDonald's or something. Just give it a shot. GetNativePath.com, promo code /Godzilla Wins. Good deal.
Yeah, you and me spend $21 at McDonald's. I'm not sure Mitch, Nate, or Dan.
Well, I got Larry with
I got the app. I have the app, man.
This is like the Larry and John show.
I didn't even spend $21 at McDonald's Hawaii.
Well, that's because you're just one guy. But when you got Larry, like I go in there and at McDonald's, I get a little salad for $9. Larry gets Larry gets like 2 Big Mac meals, the 2 biggest fries ever made known to man, biggest Coke you've ever seen. It's like this big. It's like a jug of Coke, So it's a little bit different when you travel with them.
Mr. Modesty getting a salad at McDonald's.
They got rid of salads. They don't even have them anymore. So
What I got to do? I mean, I got to lose some weight. I can't be eating Big Mac. Larry's a skinny little guy. He's got, I don't know what the metabolism going. Guy needs to put on some weight. He ate 2 Big Macs. I saw him eat 2 Big Macs last night. I'm like, who the hell eats 2 Big Macs? Like, is that even humanly possible?
All the bread.
Like, hey,
too much bread in that.
Why don't we cook up these hot dogs I got? Like, what? You just said 2 Big Macs. But he's a skinny guy. He needs his energy. Larry, the driver, man, is my man.
Yeah, I can spend $30 at McDonald's by myself. I don't know about all this other stuff.
I'm telling you, get the app. Our whole office got it. It's our inflation buster. We actually dine in at our local McDonald's once a week. We have fun with it. We do the $5 quarter pounder meal. It takes you back to like 1994.
Finding ways to hack the app and get free or cheap McDonald's some way.
Yeah, I love that. And I do always dine in at fast food restaurants. I figure that's why they have the seats. So not everybody appreciates like going to McDonald's or Wendy's with me.
There's a segment right there. Like I'm with you guys. Like I go in and sit down and eat at these places and nobody will do that anymore. They'll want the delivery at the car window or something. It's like, no, I want to go in. I want a table. I want to get a cup of coffee. I want to sit down. I want to go to the men's room.
But it's annoying because of all the looters and stuff. Like you have to ask for everything. You have to ask for condiments. You can't refill your own drink anymore. It's really frustrating to go inside.
Yeah,
that's true.
Look, I'll swing by. I'll get about $30 worth of food. Sit down with a huge Diet Coke. Pop the print Wall Street Journal and start flipping through. So I look like a lunatic in there. I look homeless actually.
Cross your legs, start lighting a cigarette up.
The best thing is when my son picks me up at whatever hotel I'm staying in and like eats the hotel breakfast and then gets like 3 extra cup of coffees to go. I'm like, man, I raised you right. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Caffeine addiction. That's what a way to raise your children.
Get that coffee going,
right.
baby.
Yeah.
Uncontrolled impulse control.
Yeah. So I want to save some time for Dan's soccer segment. I think we can talk a little bit about Verlander, and if we have time, we'll sneak in this rules thing. So, Dad, go ahead. Verlander's
give me a second. I have to take this call. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
Excellent.
All right.
You want me to do soccer now?
Yeah,
Verlander.
Dan, why don't you do soccer now, and we'll move our subjects. We've been doing the show for over 2 years, and he's never just taken a call in the middle of the show when I
Did he have like an earpiece, like a Secret Service agent? He's like, hold on,
live radio.
Hold on, I got to take this.
I got to take this call. Yeah. What's funny is he never takes my calls at all, like ever. So that's fun. Dan, go ahead, do your soccer, and then we'll circle back to baseball.
All right. So, the United States appears to have its coach in Mauricio Pochettino, replacing Greg Berhalter, and I think it's a really good move, and it shows that the U.S. is taking this seriously for 2026. They swung on some big names. They first went for Jurgen Klopp. That didn't work out, but they've now got a coach with European experience, Latin American background, and it really seems like the U.S. understands what opportunity they have with the World Cup coming here in 2 years, and they're ready to go for it. So it's nice to see that they're actually taking this seriously and setting up for what will hopefully be a long run in 2026.
What's the deal with his contract? What is he still owed money from Chelsea, and they have to pay that out?
So there's a couple of loose ends to tie up because of his exit from Chelsea. So they've got to figure out what does Chelsea owe him and what needs to happen before he's free and clear to officially take the job. But
and he could be there by September. Is that right? Like for the Canada game?
That is the target.
That's awesome.
So and I mean there's no rush if there are some delays and he misses that Canada match, because I mean it's a national team job. There's no need to go out and recruit players. So if it does get delayed, not a big deal, but that would be nice to have him for that match.
So that's what's going on with the U.S. men's team. Dan, I know the Premier League started as well, and you've been writing some picks for us. So give us just a little primer on that.
Yeah, so I'm actually in the process of writing a piece on the 12:30 match shown today between West Ham and Aston Villa that's going to be on NBC. So just a little preview of what I'm going to be putting out there. Aston Villa has lost 4 of its past 5 season openers. This is not a team that starts well, and they're also dealing with the pressure of having been in that Champions League place last season. So now they're the hunted. And that's a new kind of pressure for them. West Ham should be pretty hungry. So taking the Hammers at plus 150 on the money line looks really good. I'm going to look to get aggressive on this one and throw in a pick on West Ham and both teams to score because West Ham's defense was really weak last season. And when these teams get together, what usually happens is both teams find the net. So I think there's a really good value in a high-scoring, entertaining match as opposed to that 0-0 stuff that you had to watch last time. Soccer.
John, Ollie Watkins for them is exciting and fun. Watch this game. He's probably the best attacker in the Premier League.
Dan, for those who don't follow the Premier League, where can they watch it and what time? Because I mean, it's going to be pretty soon, I would imagine.
Yeah. So this match that I'm talking about is actually a 12:30 p.m. match. So this is in the primetime window for England, and it's going to be on NBC. So this is one where if you've got the basic cable package, you don't even have to worry about that. Broadcast television, it's there. My other pick for this window is going to be the first window here, which is a 10 a.m. game. So this is starting in 15 minutes, and this, I believe, is going to be on Peacock. Newcastle against Southampton. Newcastle has dominated this matchup lately. So this is a situation where Southampton is returning to the Premier League after a 1-year absence. They got relegated the last time they were in the Premier League, won promotion this past season, and the defense is just not a strength for the Saints. Newcastle is very difficult to beat at St. James Park, so I'm taking Newcastle and both teams to score, which is plus 120 at DraftKings. So that's another great thing about betting soccer is you pair these outcomes and you're usually going to find a plus money play that makes sense.
Look, football and football bets today. Yes,
that's right. And you can go to Godzilla Wins and you'll see all of Dan's soccer Premier League or a bunch of his Premier League bets on there as well. And Dan, if people want to follow you, because I know you have a Substack too where you list even more bets. So tell people how they can follow you there if they want to.
Yeah, it's Angel Sports Analysis. I usually post a link to my Substack in some of my pieces when it makes sense. I've also got a WNBA pick in there. And a couple baseball plays for today's Substack. So yeah, give that a look.
Okay, perfect. And look,
hey, by the way, we went head to head last week, Dan, on a baseball pick. I won. Just saying.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Well done. Well done.
It's a numbers game.
You're getting fried out there, man.
I'm about to go out.
The sun's out.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Jack, I'm starting to get worried about you.
What time is it out there? 6:48. It's already 100 degrees.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go put on sunscreen in a minute, but
you gotta go put on a sunscreen and one of them big hats. One of them big hats you got.
Yeah, I don't have access to the hats right now, so I'll just put on some sunscreen and we'll be okay. But just give me a minute to get you guys the next 10 minutes, and I'll go do it because the sun did just pop up. It's been quite the.
If you're looking at it on my screen, it's like he's at the beach getting fried at 6 a.m. in Phoenix or something.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, it's Arizona. It's tough out here. But shout out to Arizona because now I can partake in a little bit of mobile gaming in ways that I could not in Mississippi. So, Dad handed me a winner yesterday.
Yeah, baby.
With the Cubs, and then I turned around and lost it with the Pirates Mariners under 3.5 runs through 5 innings. They someone hit a home run in the bottom of the 5th
with 2 outs.
With 1 out or something like that. So that was ridiculous too. But look, I want to spend the last 2 minutes because we did a little bit of soccer. Dad's back because he had to take some important phone call, I guess. Just talking a little bit about maybe Verlander's return, and we'll save this MLB rule change for next week. I'm not even sure how important it is, but let's talk a little bit about Verlander, maybe Correa. Dad, you go ahead and start, and let me go fix this sun issue.
Well, look, as an Astro fan, you got to feel good about where we are right now. 3 games up. I got a couple comments. Verlander is coming back. He's getting a second rehab start, I think, today. And that could be it. He could be back in the rotation. That's going to be a big boost. Also, they've been able to do this without Kyle Tucker, who was our hottest hitter before he went down June 3rd. We understand he's feeling better. We hope to get him back in probably by the next week or so, because he's now running in the outfield. He hurt his shin. So he's coming back. Bregman, who is now our hottest hitter, he's out this whole weekend. He got injured by sleeping, he said, the wrong way on his arm. I don't know how the hell that happens as a major league ball player, but he took himself out this weekend. But look, you got to if you're an Astro fan, you got to really like where we are right now. 3 games up, Seattle can't hit, and we just got beat. I tell you what, I watched the White Sox game last night, and their ace pitched. He had 9 strikeouts of 4 innings. Now, we had half a team, no Bregman, whatever. But he had 9 strikeouts of 4 innings on the road. And then they got guys coming in, closing it out with, 2.3, 2.5, one guy, 1.00 ERA. And then, they got this guy, Luis Robert Jr. hit like 2 homers, a double, 5 hits. I'm like, how is this the worst team? It's the first time I saw him play. Like, how are they going to lose 150 games? They looked good last night, beating the Astros on the road. So I don't know what's going on there, but Verlander and Kyle Tucker is really going to make a difference. And the bottom line is, Astros are going to win that division. Going to need these players back to make a run in the playoffs. So I'm kind of pumped about our situation now.
It's been pretty remarkable how many injuries they've dealt with in the pitching staff and being able to rebound like this.
It's unbelievable. When they traded for Kikuchi from Toronto, I mean, our whole Astros nation just blasted the trade. I mean, they just blasted it. Like, we gave away too much. Jeff Bagwell's an idiot. Run him out of town on a rail. Get rid of Biggio. Get rid of Bagwell. They have all the juice. They don't know what they're doing. Blah, 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 blah. That went on for a week until the guys had 3 unbelievable quality starts, and is the reason that we're going to have a shot at getting back to the ALDS, or the AL Championship Series, ALSC, or whatever it is, Championship Series in the AL. So he's been fantastic.
Yes, there we go. He's back.
What is it?
ALCS, American League Championship Series.
Right. That's
John, to answer your question on the White Sox, the reason why they're possibly the worst team, in one of the worst teams in baseball history, is because the bullpen is the second worst in the majors. The batting average is the second worst in the majors. They have the fewest runs scored. I think only Washington has fewer home runs. I mean, the starting pitching is good, but other than that, there is nothing this team does well.
Well, they kicked our ass last night, so
they
didn't look that bad. And then they said, oh, they don't have anybody after the starter came in that they were trying to trade, and they bring in one guy after the other. He's got 2.3 ERA, 2.5, striking guys out. I'm like, and I'm watching again. We finally got the TV here and the RV hooked up after 18 months. We figured it out, so we got to see the game. But they didn't look that bad to me last night. I'm like, wow. So we'll see. The
White Sox have one pitcher. Let's see, one pitcher on their roster who has an outside of a couple starters who has an ERA under 4.3.
Solid.
Not the guys they brought in last. Not the guys they brought in last night. You have to
maybe it's somebody up from AAA. Then I don't know.
Yeah, it must have been guys up. Just up. But if you go to the box score and see who they brought in last night, because I'm like, okay, well, as soon as this starter gets out, game's over. Astros win because they have no bullpen, and they're bringing in these guys from AAA. Striking us out. We're swinging the balls in the dirt or whatever. Yep. So we'll see what happens.
Matt Foster, it looks like that was his first major league inning of the season.
We'll see.
So yeah. I mean, I think we'll see. And Kikuchi, who knows? I mean, it just depends. Shout out to Paul back on Facebook, insulting us again. That's what he does. He got about once a month. He gets on and just starts firing off insults. Today he's picked on Nate, though I'm sure he's coming for the rest of us here pretty soon. As soon as he gets
bring it, Paul.
One thing, Paul, that I do.
I think he's jealous of you, Nate.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
not-
Yeah,
that's-
he
that's
must
what it
be.
is.
But look, the thing I love about Paul is I'm sure that he the reason he is able to fire off these zingers like this. Here we go, baby. There's another one. Is because he drinks Beard Vet coffee. It's the best coffee on the market. Get you super fired up for the day, and get you super focused. And that's what Paul drinks, and that's what we all drink. So go ahead and go to www.beardvet.com. That's www.beardvet.com. Put in the promo code Godzilla, not Godzilla Wins, but just Godzilla, and you do it at the checkout. So they've got all sorts of different kinds um, of coffee. They've got the whole beans, they've got the ground roast, got the K cups, all sorts of stuff. So you can pick your coffee, and then once you have what you want, go ahead and just put in the promo code Godzilla at checkout, and it'll get you 10% off. So you basically save on your shipping with that Beard Vet coffee. So www.beardvet.com. That's www.beardvet.com. Best coffee on the market, and
The
so many
people's
great
coffee.
selection. The people's coffee. That's right. I don't think that's their slogan, but I hear you. So the people's coffee there. Godzilla is the promo code, 10% off there. Okay, so we got about 5 minutes. Do you want to talk about the rule change? I mean, this potential rule change. I mean, we
It's
certainly
about the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's like what do these guys do in New York, right? What do they do? Like, what do these MLB executives get paid? What do they do? Have you ever played the game? Do you have like a clue what goes on out there? Have you ever pitched? Have you ever didn't have anything? Have you ever you can't get your fastball over, right? You can't get your changeup to work. Are you an imbecile sitting there in your suit making $195,000? Like, what do you do? Just sit there and dream up communist stuff? This has got to be the stupidest thing. They want to make it. Well, we're going to speed up the game if a starter has to pitch 6 innings. What do you mean has to pitch? Sometimes you don't have anything. It's the way the game has been played for 170 years. Stuff doesn't work. So you're going to make the pitcher now stay in for 6 innings while he gets lit up like a Christmas tree because he doesn't have anything that day? These guys are brain dead morons. They just need to take the whole MLB New York and just ignore them, right? The commissioner sucks. They all suck. I can't stand any of them. Let the owners run the thing. It's got to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's dumber than the dumbest thing ever.
So there's actually a caveat in there that would allow them to pull the pitcher if he gives up 4 runs, regardless of how
Even
much.
that is stupid. What now? You're gonna dictate to a manager? Well, you got to wait till they give up 4 runs because hey, we can take another like 2 seconds off the game and screw it up more than we already have.
I don't think it's about taking time off the game. I think it's about fixing the thing. Fixing what teams like Tampa Bay have done to screw up the game.
They haven't screwed it up. Look,
yeah,
if
they have.
Kevin
Dad,
he starts an opener.
Let Dan talk.
Dad, let Dan talk.
The opener is simply ridiculous, and because of what the Rays have done, like pitchers don't know how to pitch anymore. Like what happens is we see guys at the first sign of trouble, they panic because they're used to just velocity, hunting for strikeouts, and they don't know how to pitch out of tight situations. Like this is why, like this year, I've been able to watch a lot more college baseball because of my situation, and I've enjoyed it so much more because you don't have that ability to just go to a fresh arm at the first sign of trouble. You actually have to learn how to pitch. Do I think this rule is a good idea? No. But I think that at least they're coming up with an idea because they've got to do something to actually teach pitchers how to pitch instead of how to just throw the ball hard. And I think the rule that I want to see would be the double hook idea, where if you pull your pitcher before 5 or 6 innings, then you lose your DH for the rest of the game. Like,
yeah.
So,
well, and it's all about market.
They just, it's like communist baseball, right?
What communist baseball is being the worst team, the number 1 draft pick.
It's like if Kevin Cash feels like doing openers, do it. Then he's going to do openers. That's his thing.
Fine.
How many teams?
Okay, hold on, everybody. Hold on. Everybody, stop talking. It's the top of the hour, Dad. I don't know why all of a sudden you've decided to talk over everybody. So stop doing that. We're going to continue this topic. So don't go anywhere for our listeners. Take a short break here. Be 10 o'clock when we come back, and we'll continue talking about this proposed baseball rule, and we'll get some other people's ideas other than John's into the show. Listen to the Godzilla Win Saturday Picks show. We'll be right back.
Listening to Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network. For a deeper dive without the jive, visit the website of winners, GodzillaWins.com. Let's get back to the show with the guys in the know, John, Jack, and Nate. It's Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
And you are back here listening to the Godzilla Win Saturday Pick Show. I'm your host, Jack Fredericks, alongside my father, the Godzilla of Truth, John Fredericks. We are going to continue our discussion here on this weird kind of rule proposal that could be a good idea in theory, but maybe not in practice. John has got up to get some more Beard Vet coffee, so this will give everybody else an opportunity to say what they think. Mitch, go ahead and provide your perspective here.
First, I love that the topic on the run sheet that I thought was going to get completely skipped or less play has become the one that's been, the most volatile, which is fun. I think it's a marketing issue, and I always bring everything back to Pittsburgh. That's what I do. But Paul Skeens, seeing he quickly became the star of MLB in the All-Star game, and so it's a marketing thing. They want to be able to market starting pitching again, and they're missing out on a lot of that with these teams that do the Tampa Bay system. So, and also I think you're seeing all these arm injuries, right? So they throw so hard, and all of a sudden, like Tommy John is just normal. I think that's crazy that that's just normal. Like kids almost want to get it before they, when they're 17 or 18, so they can get it out of the way. So there's got to be some kind of, I don't like the rule, but I like what they're trying to get to. And, oftentimes when you do legislation or anything in the real world in politics, you start with something far-fetched and then you work down to the middle and get to some common ground. So I think it's a good start. And I think it'll whittle down to some kind of change, because it'd just be nice to have starting pitching again.
Yeah, Mitch, I think that's kind of my perspective. Then we'll get to Nate here. Is basically that this is the starting point for a larger conversation about what Dan's talking about, which is the idea that pitchers need to be able to pitch out of situations. It needs to mirror a little bit more like college. There's too much of an emphasis on just throwing hard, and that has to do a lot with just the way that baseball has been thought about and managed over the last 20 years, with the ability to have these sort of high-level statistical or regression analyses that say, hey, listen, it doesn't really matter about pitching out of situations. It's just the harder you throw, the harder it is for people to hit. So just get a bunch of people who can throw hard. When they stop throwing hard, take them out and put someone else in, which takes away a little bit of the nuance of the game at times, although it adds a different type of nuance. So I think Mitch is right that both Mitch and Dan are right that this is something that is going to regress a little bit towards the middle as far as what rule changes might be in place. Nate, what do you think?
I mean, everything that MLB seems to be doing, with like the rule changes that they've already had, the bigger bags, the no more shift, all that stuff, everything just seems to be aimed at just getting more offense and more excitement more than anything else. Like they say that it's, they want to protect the integrity of the game, and they say that, they want guys to stop getting injured. But it seems to me that they're always just trying to drum up more offense, because that's what people want to see, is just more runs crossing the plate. But like, I just don't know if this is the way to do it. Like, I don't know why they're spending so much time on this when they can just like mess with the ball again. Like if that's what they want, like just screw with the ball again and just, generate more runs that way. I mean, and just do it in secret like they've been doing it. I mean, that's what they've always done. So I'm not really sure like why.
That's why I don't think this is about offense.
Yeah, you don't think so?
No, I think it's about getting back to actual baseball. I mean, like the bigger bases, the thing that it changed was it encouraged teams to incentivize base running. Like that was lost for 15, 20 years because so many teams, Tampa Bay again, were focused on the three true outcomes of walk, strikeout, home run. And teams weren't like too many teams weren't going station to station, weren't taking the extra base, so weren't looking for opportunities to be aggressive on the base paths. Now they expand the size of the bases, make it a little bit easier to get that steal, and suddenly teams are like, "Oh, we can get some runs on this way and give ourselves a better chance to win. We can steal to win a ball game. We can take that extra base. Sure, let's prioritize base running again." I think what has happened is over the last 15 to 20 years, as analytics and stats have dominated the game, like we have gotten away from baseball far too much. And I think this is an attempt to get back to actual baseball.
Dad, I want to stay on this topic just for a minute longer because I mean, it seems like you're the outlier here in that you hate this rule, but Dan's argument that we want to get back to how baseball was intended to be played, that feels like an
Sounds like a
argument
very
that you would
John argument.
Yeah, so I'm kind of wondering why you feel as though this new type of baseball where we just throw a bunch of pitchers at everyone that can throw hard and don't teach pitchers how to pitch in the situations, don't leave them in, etc. Why you feel like that is getting away from the way baseball was intended to be played and not back to kind of how this rule isn't trying to kind of preserve the integrity of the game, I guess.
Because there's only a handful of teams that do this. I mean, basically, Tampa started it with Kevin Cash. I'm an Astro fan. I think we've done it 2 times out of necessity. Like we didn't have anybody else to start. Like we didn't have a starter, and we had too many games, and so there was nobody to pitch. And so they started Dubon or something. He went 3 innings. I mean, this is not like this is a rampant thing that Kevin Cash started with Tampa some time back when he said, "Hey, I can shake a tree." And I get 5 guys coming out of my farm system throwing 97. I mean, that's a testament to Tampa's bullpen and how they've developed their young players, and they can do what they want. Look, I like the fact that they stopped the shift, which I thought was asinine beyond belief. So I don't like starting the guy at second base in the extra inning games. I think that's what like Joe did when he was 8 in Little League, like 9 years old. Coach pitch, you did that. The stupidest thing I've ever heard in Major League Baseball. But I just got a problem with these. These rules are coming down, not by baseball purists. These are 29-year-old kids they hire that their entire experience with baseball is playing Nintendo games. They never played the sport themselves. They don't get it, and so that's what I got a problem with this. You start mandating. Look, I had no problem with. You only get so many visits to the mound. I had no problem with you got to pitch to at least 3 batters. I got that because that was about speeding the game up. And when you get 5 pitchers coming in the same inning, it's dumb. But this is like now you want to dictate how a team utilizes its starting pitchers because you believe that there's a different way. I just don't think it's a good idea. And I think let the game get played out. I mean, I bet a team yesterday, the Cubs, right? They get to the bottom of the second. The bottom of the 10th, they got a guy on second base, no outs. And I'm thinking to myself, all you got to do is lay down 2 bunts, you win. I said, bunt 1, bunt 2, game over. You already got him on the top of the 10th. Now, the guy ended up getting a hit with 1 out. But a lot of these teams don't take advantage of this. Like, bunt 2 times, you win. Go home. Go have a beer. So, look, let the teams figure it out.
Yeah, John, I think that's what they're trying to do. Like, I think you have this backwards. I think the people in New York who are proposing this are the baseball purists, and the 29-year-olds who have played on video games are the ones running the Rays and teams like this. Now, maybe the Astros haven't done this, but this problem is a lot more rampant than you want to believe. And it's made a lot of baseball purists, like Mike Hargrove, for example, has said multiple times how until the recent rule changes, he found the game boring because of how they had just taken baseball out of baseball pretty much. And I think that you're kind of like your position doesn't really make sense for what you want to see.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean,
I just want to see the league dictating when you take the picture.
Well, that's fine, but
I just have a problem with that. I mean, it just sticks in my craw.
As Nate and Mitch alluded to, this is a starting point. Like, there are other ways to do this, and like the double hook rule that has been tested in the Atlantic League is something I think could work. Where if your pitcher makes it through 5 innings, then you get to keep your DH for the entirety of the game. If you pull your pitcher before 5 innings, then you lose the DH for the remainder of the game.
I don't like that. You're handicapping a team.
No, Dad. Oh my God! Stop talking. Like, you've had your say.
All right.
All right. Let someone else. We're gonna move on anyway. But
the rule sucks.
The Dan's point here is that something like the double hook, while it might incentivize keeping your pitcher in, if you don't want to keep your pitcher in, then you don't have to. So someone like the Rays could say, hey, this is not how we want to play baseball. What we're going to do is we're just going to have pitchers who also can hit a little bit. And so we don't need a DH, whatever. I mean, like, these things change. And you always do this. Like, every time there's a rule change, you start to complain. And then it doesn't matter what the rule change is. And then once, like, you see it work for the Astros like 4 times, then you're just like, actually, it's the greatest rule change I've ever seen in baseball, which is why you like the wild card, because like in 2020, they snuck into the wild card in that COVID year and they almost went to the World Series. And so now you love the expanded playoffs. So don't sit here.
Can I also say that, Jack? Can I also say
he was a huge fan when they were on the outside looking in the AL West.
Go ahead, Dan.
I just remain mystified how early in this discussion, John, you said that this is baseball communism when you yourself are the ultimate advocate for baseball communism by giving the worst team
that's true.
for one draft pick. That is baseball communism 101.
Yeah, you just can't call it that. You have to call it, baseball like fighting for the little guy. Baseball small market
Marxism. Baseball populism.
The White Sox until they beat us last night. Now I don't give a hoot what they do. I just felt bad for them. Like, they should get a first round pick. They suck.
That is socialism, John. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Listen, let's move on to some other topics. This one's a little too contentious. I can't handle it out here. Yeah, let's move on to a little bit of football here, because the NFL is coming up here, and like next week we're going to talk a lot about college football. We're getting the NFL coming back. Should be a lot of fun. So what I first want to talk about, and I don't want to cut this out because I think a lot of people have been watching the preseason football. Mitch, I want to start with you because I know you've been locked into the preseason. Just some week 2 preseason NFL takeaways. Mitch, take it wherever you want, and we'll kind of go around the horn here and see how we all feel about the preseason so far.
I'm more in the storyline. I'm still enamored with this Philadelphia Eagles saga and story between Hurts and coach. Like, I just can't imagine having a team that loaded and having and then them saying, and then the fall off being communication issues. And I'm starting to wonder, and I'm watching these games to see if Jalen Hurts has he fallen off. Like, it seemed like they got to the point where people questioned Jalen Hurts' skills. And then all of a sudden nope, he's fine. Let's sign him to this huge contract. And then they have the season they had last year, and they're just kind of throwing it out to like bad coaching. But Hurts just didn't look right, either. So I'm very interested in that. Going to the other side of Pennsylvania for once, and so I'm keying in on them because they're just so talented, and if they can figure it out, it seems like they would just be dominant in the NFC East. And I can't put my finger on why they're not.
Nate, what do you think?
I mean, so for the preseason, I mean, like, obviously, like the week 2 is still kind of ongoing. But I guess, I mean, the big storyline that we haven't really talked about is JJ McCarthy out for the season. He looked pretty good in the first preseason game. Everyone was starting to get like the hype machine was like really going in Minnesota. His knee was a little sore, and boom, MRI reveals a torn meniscus. So he's out. And I think that's, you just have to feel for Minnesota Vikings fans at this point. Like, they just cannot catch a break with quarterback, with Cousins having, a great season last year and then tearing his Achilles and now McCarthy out. I mean, you have to feel for them. The other thing that I'm interested in, and preseason means nothing, but, Diggs was on the field a little bit for the Texans. And he was such a malcontent in Buffalo, lack of targets, nobody's getting me the ball. And he got 0 targets in the preseason game. Meanwhile, CJ Stroud connects with Tank for, a couple of big plays. Now that Tank is back. And I wonder if this is just going to be like a distraction for the Texans. Like they don't need Stephon Diggs to be good. Like to be a good offense. They were a good offense last year without him. And I worry sometimes when they start adding these wide receivers and these pieces like, oh, now he can be more dynamic, that it's just going to be distracting later on if he's not the guy. Like he doesn't seem like he is CJ Stroud's guy. Tank Dell is CJ Stroud's guy. Like they drafted him because that's who CJ Stroud said he wanted. And now, with Stephon Diggs there, I worry about distractions, especially if this sort of is there's more to come of these sort of lack of targets, because he's sort of like 1A or number 2 receiver. Even if it's a depth chart, it's, in games.
Dad, let's stay on the McCarthy injury news, and then we'll go to the Texans stuff with Stephon Diggs. I think both those topics are really interesting. But let's just stay on the McCarthy thing for a minute, Dad. What does this mean for the Vikings? I mean, you got to feel for Vikings fans, right? They lose Cousins. Then they think, okay, well, like we got this quarterback in McCarthy who seems to be okay. Now all of a sudden, not so much. Is this something that is I mean, what's next for Minnesota, I guess, is the question I have.
And the first thing you do is you got to take a stiff drink and go to bed. I mean, that's like number one. I mean, I was looking forward to seeing McCarthy play. A lot of people, he had a lot of detractors. He had a lot of fans. And I was interested to see how he was going to do. And I thought Minnesota was a good fit. And they drafted him high and they liked him. And I'm like, okay, he's going to bring, when you watched him play in college, I mean, there was something about the guy. He was tough not to like. You guys have to admit that. He was just tough not to like. And he was a good kid, and he was always great in the after-game shows, and always thanked his offensive linemen and thanked his coaches. And so I was kind of looking forward to it. Now it's like, okay, if you're a Minnesota fan, now what? You got rid of Cousins, your savior's gone, and now you're going to get a journeyman quarterback. Maybe they should trade for Fields from the Steelers, who, by the way, has not looked as good as I thought he would. So I think it's very difficult for a Vikings fan. I mean, I put myself in that position, right? Let's say Levis went down. He's out for the season. Now what? I mean, we don't even have a backup, right? I mean, we got to go out and find somebody off the street like we did with that guy that played for Tennessee or something, the rocket scientist guy. I mean, it's a disaster for a football team. And this is, I guess, why you got to have a backup. Maybe they go. I think what the Vikings should do is go out and get Tannehill. Maybe he's got one more year in him. At least he can run a football game. He can manage a game. They have a good team. He's did bring the Titans 2 times to the, almost to the Super Bowl in 2 playoff runs. Maybe they get him, but I mean, it's tough this is the tough thing about football when a quarterback, it's like when Rodgers went down with the Jets in the first game, the season was over. It's tough.
I don't know if it's going to be I feel bad for him and his development. It doesn't feel like it's going to be such a disaster because it was kind of a surprise that he was ascending to that starting position. I mean, I know the excitement was there because he played so well in the preseason game, but their intent was Sam Darnold for a few weeks and then get him in, later if he played well enough. And I know the expectations changed because he was playing well. So, I mean, it stinks for his development, obviously. But as far as their plans going into training camp, it seems it's kind of like now, I mean, I just got to go with Sam Darnold, who you were kind of intending on going with anyway. And from what I'm seeing, and I'm like Dan Orlovsky on ESPN and stuff, there's people that like Sam Darnold and then feel like he can make like a career resurgence, or I don't know how you can resurge if you never surged, but maybe finally do something in the league. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, I was just rooting for him because I wanted to see how being on a run, a running college team, and to see how he would translate it.
They also signed Matt Corral, former Ole Miss quarterback who put up some great numbers.
Oh, there we go.
So you never know.
Was he out of football, Jack?
Matt Corral, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know
he
Matt
was
Corral
good with the Reds, man.
Let's
see.
He
was good.
Matt Corral was playing for the Birmingham Stallions.
There we go.
Hey, look, I mean, there's a good story there too, and you never know. He is a gamer, so that'll be kind of interesting. Dad, speaking of games, talk a little bit about Rosie's Gaming Casino
Oh man, we
there
got
in
big great
Virginia.
races coming up, baby. I mean, this is right now. We got huge stake races. Go to rosiegaming.com, rosiesgaming.com. Have fun, win money. They got casinos all over Virginia. We're going to be hitting them on the way back here from Wilkes-Barre. We're going to go to Colonial Downs next week. It is so much fun. All you got to do is go to colonialdowns.com. You got horse racing in New Kent. This is big time racing, folks. This isn't like, you're getting maiden, $10,000 claimers. I mean, we got $1 million stakes races coming. This is some big time stuff that Colonial Downs has. They keep expanding their dates. Horse racing in Virginia is back. You want to check this out. You can also go to OTB and all that. But I am really a big fan of Colonial Downs. We're going to be there this weekend. We can't wait to go. It is so much fun. Besides, the casino is great to get the bigger payouts, the bigger jackpots. Why? Because, well, we have the lowest stake in the country from any state. That's what the General Assembly did. Yay. Also, shout out to Governor Youngkin. We've had our differences, but you're an extraordinary governor, and you vetoed the scumbag skill games bill. We have gambling on every corner, which is a complete disaster for Virginia, for kids. Thank you for doing that. You get a lifetime pass, except if you go to Iowa. That is so a bit different. Other than that, we're good to go. Go to Colonial Games, colonialdowns.com, colonialdowns.com. Have fun, win money. Great place.
I like going to my local 7-Eleven and seeing people playing betting games.
Nice with Governor Youngkin now.
I like they just have a 6-pack they just took out of the fridge and they just sit there playing games in my 7-Eleven.
Dad, I think Mitch Albom, the Detroit Free Press writer from like the 70s or whatever, who wrote that book Tuesdays with Maury. Yeah. I think you should write a book called Saturdays with Glenn, and you and Glenn Youngkin just sit down and every Saturday you just hammer out.
Everybody says I don't like him. He's been an extraordinary governor of Virginia, probably one of the best we've ever had.
Wow.
So I'm a big Youngkin, Virginia fan. I love Glenn Youngkin.
It's too bad he doesn't feel the same about you.
Well, he doesn't like me. His staff doesn't like me. I think I'm just misunderstood. Yes, I've had a couple of quotes in the Washington Post, but it had nothing to do with his governance of Virginia. It was all about the Trump stuff, and that's fine. But I'm just misunderstood. His staff does not like me at all. They really hate me.
One thing about you're Virginia first, always. If it's good for Virginia, you support it. You don't even live there, and you still feel the same way. So
I feel the same way. It's always a piece of my heart.
I know it is.
like
Saturdays with Glenn. Think about it.
Like your brother says, here's his best quote. It doesn't matter how big you are. The only thing that matters is the size of your heart. Glenn's got a good heart for Virginia, and I'm a Glenn Youngkin Virginia fan.
I didn't know where that was going.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it went there. Let's talk a little bit. Let's continue talking about the NFL. I mean, we can do a little Stephon Diggs, Dan, or we can talk a little bit about the Falcons, who have made some big moves.
Falcons, baby.
Maybe 24 hours seems like they're kind of cashing. Maybe we do the Falcons here. So Simmons and Judon, they signed Simmons and they traded for Judon, shoring up some of the defense, I suppose, although they had a great defense last year with the Simmons signing. To me, and Dan, I want to get your thoughts on this and then we'll kind of move around, but to me, the way I feel about it as kind of a Falcons fan, someone who follows that team a little bit more closely than any other NFL team, is basically that they feel like this is the year that they can cash in, that they maybe have a window, just like we were talking about with baseball, of maybe like 2 years with Kirk Cousins where he could be successful, and that they're trying to make as many good decisions as they can with the roster in order to maybe have a chance to win 10, 11, 12 games in a division that is relatively weak. It's not as though they're playing in a division with the Lions or the Rams or some of these perennial teams that tend to, in the NFC, the Eagles, the Cowboys tend to be really good. I mean, this is a wide open division. So it seems to me like the Falcons just see that this is their opportunity and are trying to take it. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think that Atlanta is in position to do this, both because they've gone heavy on Kirk Cousins as their guy for the short term, and I think they probably have the long term figured out with Michael Penix because he's looking pretty good. So I think Atlanta is probably in position to not have to think, when Kirk Cousins' career comes to an end in a couple years, we're going to have to go get a new quarterback, and we're going to need some draft capital for that. I think the Falcons are thinking, okay, we've got our guy for now. We've got our guy for 3 years. Let's go all in on this window with Cousins, and we're still going to have a pretty good foundation for success in Michael Penix when Kirk Cousins' career is up.
Nate, that's an interesting take, I think, because, I mean, everybody panned the Michael Penix pick, like everybody.
Yeah.
And it seems as though, at least from what Dan's saying, and I haven't been able to watch a lot of Penix play this year because I've been moving and everything else, but it seems as though maybe he is a better pick than some thought, which was, I mean, because they picked him like 8th or 9th, they felt like it was a reach. So what do you think, Nate? Is this, do the Falcons feel like their window is a lot longer than this 2 or 3 year stretch with Cousins?
I mean, I think so. And I think that you just have to look at, you have to look at the division that they play in too. And the window is basically like non-existent for everyone around them. Like Carolina's not scary. Like the Saints aren't scary. Like, so you just
Carolina's scary for Carolina fans.
Yeah, right. Like they're just like, yeah, like pray for Bryce Young that he doesn't just get like, killed out there, like on the field. Like, so I think you just look around and you're like, well, like, yeah, of course this is our window. Like everyone else is so bad in the division that it has to be. The thing with the Falcons, and I like the Judon pick or like kind of trade more than I like the Simmons signing, just because, the secondary, has been okay. They needed to find someone to be able to get at the quarterback to help them out a little bit. They've just had like no pass rush. And they had an injury in the preseason game. It looked like they had a rookie linebacker, Braylon Trice. He's out. He was out in the second quarter. There's not been like an update on his injury status, if it's, going to be long-term or not. But that's, I think, really like the only sort of like missing piece for Atlanta is, can they get to a quarterback and force some pressure and force him to throw into, like pretty strong like secondary core. So yeah, I mean, I think that Dan's right. I mean, Penix had an okay game, pretty decent, like first sort of action. He was 9 for 16, 100 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He completed like a pretty nice, like long, deep pass, a 40-yard pass. So, I mean, yeah, like there are pieces there. And like we knew Penix would probably be okay. He was solid at Washington. Give him a little time. The guy's accurate. He can make the throws. So I think that's true. And I mean, if Penix really looks good, there's always teams that need a quarterback. There's always a team that's going to need someone like Kirk Cousins. Like there's no rule that say they have to stick with Kirk Cousins and pay him all that money. Like there's a team that might want him, that they could trade him, or offload him if they really think Penix is the future. They're not like, they don't have to just keep him forever. Like, yeah, his contract is big, but there are teams that need it. So yeah, I think that they're really well positioned. And if Penix is the answer and they could offload Cousins for, a little bit more draft capital, then they're in really good shape.
I mean, and I think you see in this NFL right now, if you've graded a quarterback and you think he's going to be your franchise quarterback, you do everything you can to get him. So if they had that high of a grade on him, it's might be a stretch to the rest of the world, but that's the one piece in this league that you need, especially, one on a rookie contract. So you're right. If Cousins does anything and slips up at all, you're moving him out and having all those options. But and we brought up fantasy football. The Falcons are a fun fantasy team, just looking at it from that perspective, it's like, so that, have this solid defense. You just added 2 Pro Bowlers, and then you've got Drake London, Bijan, Kyle Pitts. I mean, it's a fun team. And in that division, they should be able to wreck shop, especially if Cousins can just, come back from the injury and play to form. So a lot of excitement in Atlanta.
And we've seen what just like fairly average, seeming quarterbacks can do, and they're surrounded with playmakers like Bijan and Pitts. I mean, like Brock Purdy's a great quarterback, but nobody had that high of a grade on him before he started getting to throw to McCaffrey and Debo and Ayuk and on and on and on, George Kittle. So when you have like great playmakers to throw to, you just need someone that's like pretty good. You don't need, pretty good is good enough to look excellent. Like you don't need someone that's, like a Pro Bowler already.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Cousins has made a career out of being pretty good. I mean, that's why he's so rich, is because he is passable. Dad, I know you got to go here in a minute to move the. Go ahead. Someone's trying to get in there.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say was, interestingly enough, the team that's on the other end of the spectrum, Denver, losing Simmons, I think they also have the right guy at quarterback, but their situation is so different from the Falcons that it makes sense for them to just fold on this season because their window is 3-4 years away. But Bo Nix also looks very good.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And look, you're listening to the Godzilla One Saturday Pick Show. I know, Dad, you got to move here in a minute to or get off the show to move the Mega Bus. So we'll get your thoughts here, and then you can sign off and say goodbye for the day. But just on the Falcons, who you have been maligning for years, seem like maybe they're turning the corner. This Judon trade does seem to be interesting because that was, and we talked about this a lot last year, that was the issue with the Falcons, was the pass rush on defense. Now on offense it was the quarterback, and on defense it was the pass rush. They got Grady Jarrett, who is supposed to be able to pressure the quarterback, but if he's being double teamed every play, then he can't get to the quarterback. So it does feel like the Falcons are all in. Dad, what do you think?
Well, listen, first of all, I am going to come back for the golf segment because you guys have picked 5 out of 6 golf winners in a row. So, I mean, I'm going to be gone for a couple of minutes, but you can bet your bottom dollar I am going to be back for the golf segment so I can get another winner. I've never seen any of it. I've never bet golf in my life. Guys, I bet 5 out of 6 weeks. They've given me the winner at a minimum of 10-1. I mean, it's incredible. And I'm gonna whoever you guys pick again, Nate, they're gonna win again this week. So I'm gonna come back for that. I love what the Falcons have done here. I love their move. I think this is going to be the surprise team. Listen, I mean, a lot of people have been critical of their management. They've gone through some coaching changes, and Chuck Smith was just not the right guy. This guy, Raheem's the real deal. I think it was a great pick. Their defense was really good last year. They didn't get the pressure on the quarterback. I think they solved that. This is a solid defense. They didn't give up big plays last year. This is a solid defense, right? They have a great offensive line. They run the football. Now they got a legit quarterback. You can say, well, Cousins didn't win a Super Bowl. A lot of people were good and didn't win a Super Bowl. John Hale didn't win a Super Bowl. We can go into lots of – Dan Fouts didn't win a Super Bowl. A lot of people didn't win Super Bowls, right? But the guy is a solid quarterback. I love the moves they made. This is a good team. And, they don't play in that tough a division, as Dan pointed out. But if you're looking – I got 2 sleeper teams, one in each division. My NFC sleeper team is the Falcons. They're better. They were better than the record last season. They had a quarterback that was horrible. Cousins is not going to be throwing interceptions in the end zone with a minute to go with the game on the line, the way the guy from Cincinnati was, Cincinnati University. Oh, he's going to be different. They got a pass rush now. This is a legit defense. They run the football. They got an offensive line. This team is coming together. Their special teams is good. I love the Falcons here, and I love the moves they've made. And if you're a Falcons fan, you got a hell of a shot to win. I think a couple playoff games. This is going to be a great season, I think, for Atlanta. They made great moves.
John coming with two obscure San Diego Charger quarterbacks.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and somehow doesn't mention Dan Marino never winning a Super Bowl.
Well, yeah,
Dan Marino never played for the Chargers, mate.
Machine gun.
Was it John Hale?
Well, yeah, Hale was my favorite.
John Hale, the pride of Kansas.
Dan Pastorini never won one. So you can go on and on. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are really good, didn't get to a Super Bowl, but it is what it is, right? But Cousins has been solid.
I mean, you could have just said the Chargers have never won a Super Bowl and just stopped there.
These names pop in my head.
Chargers score. Philip Rivers never won a Super Bowl. All these
Joe Namath did win a Super Bowl, right? Johnny Unitas never won a Super Bowl either, right? So you got a lot of players.
Yeah.
Was he still on the roster in 1970?
In typical,
he did.
Yeah,
He won.
Well, yeah, he might when they beat Dallas, right? He might have been the quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't remember. But
one other thing on the Falcons. So there are 13 teams that the sports books have projected to win 7.5 games or fewer, and 13 of Atlanta's games are against those teams. They played
Yeah.
they played 10 of them, including all 3 of their division opponents.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're
I
gonna be
think-
tough. I
I
like
think
the
if you
Falcons.
like-
And the four
Yeah, if
of
you-
the 4 teams that are projected to have a winning record who are on Atlanta's schedule, 3 of them play the Falcons in Atlanta.
I
See,
think
they
if
win
you're
games.
Edible schedule.
if you're into the futures bets, and you're in a state where that's legal, I think a futures bet on the over for the Falcons would be a good bet. Although I don't know what their win
What is the
total
over?
is.
9
8
and a
games?
half.
9 games?
9
10
and a half. Ooh, 9 and a half.
9 and a
I
half
would
is
bet
steep.
that.
you know.
I'd bet the over. I think they could win
I'd take the over.
11 games.
Yeah.
10,
Yeah, I
10,
think they can win 11
games.
or 12 as well. But it's tough, those futures bets are tough. And I mean, Nate has made a career out of those futures bets when he lived in Nevada, but they're tough because, you just don't know what's going to happen. Cousins goes down day one, whatever.
Well, that's with
we
any
like
team.
Penix, but yeah, but
So
you know,
I'll give you
9.5 points is a lot.
I got to sign off until golf. We got to get this rig out of here, but I'll give you my AFC super team and let you guys discuss it there. Falcons, NFC, AFC, Jets. Jets are going to win that division. Jets are going to win playoff games. Jets going to the Super Bowl. It's going to be Jets somebody. Maybe Jets Falcons, right? Bet that. Those are my 2 teams this season. Jets, Birds. See you when I get back.
Birds are the
So I
Eagles.
get another winner from Nate and golf.
Yeah.
That's all I care about, Nate.
The Dirty Birds.
Golf.
The Dirty Birds.
Yeah.
Dirty
So
Birds.
I have to do a live read here, but just to remind everybody who doesn't remember from the NFL stuff that we've done in the past, Dad's secret favorite team is the Jets. So just take that with a grain of salt. That's he's a Titans fan, but he grew up in Jersey. His dad was a Jets fan, and there's a possibility that he is secretly as big a Jets fan as he is a Titans fan. It's just
Not
that
true.
the two don't conflict.
Not true.
There's a secret place in his heart
That's awesome.
for the Jets.
Your
So
grandfather
just
loved
take
the
that.
He loved Joe Namath. He loved Emerson Boozer. He loved
Yeah.
Marty Glickman.
When in
the
doubt, John
announcer.
just
He loved the
towards
Jets.
teams that were in
He'd
places.
go around on Sunday. Everything he had on Sunday was green. Your
Okay, go move
grandfather
the
loved
bus.
the Jets.
Go move the bus. I have to do a live read. So listen real quick. I want to talk to you a little bit about Native Path. You've all heard my dad raving about how good my stepmom's been looking and feeling since she started
right.
taking Native Path
Let's get
collagen
this thing
powder
out.
and krill oil. He won't shut up about it. So he started taking it too. And now I'm also taking it. The whole family is on the path. I started with the krill oil, which is high quality omega-3 fatty acids, which really help support healthy inflammation levels for less pain and swelling. You can't go wrong with Native Path krill oil. It's their number 1 product, over 4 million jars sold. It's the top single ingredient collagen powder product on the market, and is backed by science to support healthy bones, improve joint pain, boost skin elasticity, minimize deep wrinkles, support healthy hair, and more. They're still giving away their awesome frother for free with this special offer, so you also get a free frother there. You have to go to getnativepath.com/GodzillaWins for 44% off today. I'm going to spell it out for you. That's GetNativePath.com/GodzillaWins, just like the show, just like the website. It's going to take you to the landing page. It's going to give you 44% off your collagen powder, plus a free frother, free shipping, just an incredible deal. So you go to getnativepath.com/GodzillaWins, type that in, 44% off, get a whole bunch of good stuff for free, and you get that collagen powder, great collagen powder, perfect on the market, selling like crazy on Dad's show. So we're delighted to be able to offer it to you here as well. Okay, let's start. Let's keep talking a little bit about the NFL, and I guess the topic that I really want to discuss here is this Gardner Minshew Vegas thing, because there is some optimism that possibly Gardner Minshew could be the answer to Las Vegas's problems. Nate, we're going to start with you as a former Nevada resident. Is Gardner Minshew the answer to the problems here?
I mean, I think that we knew that Aiden O'Connell wasn't the answer. I think that's really like we like if we're just like if this is a multiple choice question and you're like looking at it and using test taking strategy, like Aiden O'Connell was not going to be the answer. Like you just mark him off and then you start looking at other people on the list. So from that perspective, like Gardner Minshew is definitely like an option. And I think there's reason for optimism for the Raiders just generally. I mean, they played a lot better when Pierce took over. as the interim. I think they made the right move, elevating him to just, being the head coach. And, Gardner Minshew played pretty well last season. I mean, he got the Colts damn close to making the playoffs in a season that I think they thought was pretty much a lost season after Anthony Richardson went down. So from that perspective, sure, he's going to be fine. I think probably he's good enough. But I'm not sure if it's Raiders going to the Super Bowl level of optimism.
Yeah, he'll be fine to continue the quest to get a good draft pick to find that quarterback you need eventually.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be embarrassing this year.
Yeah. Minshew's he's that quarterback that you've had in every era, right? He's close enough to be a competent starter, but he's a career backup, but he can rise up every once in a while. He's more. It's for when I watch him, he feels like more of an instinctive player, right? Not going through all the reads and progressions, kind of like, all right, I'm going to shake off somebody and play. And he excites your team. So for a team like the Raiders, I feel like he's a good plug and play guy. But yeah, you're still going to be searching for your quarterback of the future.
I think with this, and Dan, we'll get your thoughts on this as well. I think with this issue, the Gardner Minshew thing, now. Couple things. One, they had a chance, I think, to draft JJ McCarthy, or possibly the Vikings drafted him right before the.
They were talking about maybe trying to move up to get him.
Yeah. But if you feel like Brock Bowers is going to make an impact in the NFL, which some people do, some people don't. Some people are skeptical that his talent or the impact he made at UGA could spill over into the NFL. But if you are as confident as the Raiders are that Brock Bowers can be a successful tight end in the NFL, I think, Minshew definitely can find this gigantic target in the middle of the field enough to move the ball enough where the Raiders are going to be like a passable team. And this is a team that, Minshew's not going to win you 14 games, but could he, if he stays healthy, could he get you 9, Dan? I feel like he probably could.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Minshew is a serviceable NFL quarterback who deserves to be a starter somewhere and just hasn't found the right fit yet. And I think he played well enough to earn a job in Indianapolis. And as Nate alluded to, and as someone who has watched a fair amount of Purdue football living in Indianapolis, yeah, Aiden O'Connell's not the guy. So, yeah, it's just not I think this is Minshew's best shot to really prove that he deserves to be in this position, and I think he will. Whether it's actually going to work long term depends, because it's just so tough in that division trying to catch up to Kansas City.
And I think that Mitch was right too. When he was just sort of when you look at quarterbacks, you also have to think about, are they sort of a culture fit? And Antonio Pierce is he's a football guy, and by all accounts, Gardner Minshew is a football guy. And I think that's kind of what the team just needs right now, is they just need a guy that sort of wants it.
Culture fit's huge. I mean, we just saw that with Jared Goff and the Lions. It didn't work in LA because he didn't fit with Sean McVay, and now he has a coach and a team who believes in him, and the Lions are legitimately thinking Super Bowl is a possibility because of that.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, I do think that with the Minshew, this is a good situation for him. He has been a serviceable quarterback in the past. He's one of those guys like Sam Darnold where maybe in the right place at the right time he could be successful. But the Raiders are a tough team to feel like they can provide the stability for any quarterback to be successful. And I know that with the coaching change, everybody feels pretty optimistic about what Vegas can achieve this year, but it's always something with the Raiders, and we've been
Jack,
optimistic
in a weird way. I think that actually works to Minshew's benefit, because you mentioned Sam Darnold, and he's a guy who teams had invested a first-round draft pick, invested a fair amount in, and you need that stability when you've invested a lot. Gardner Minshew was a 6th-round pick. You've been able to bring him in for very cheap. So he's used to being in that situation where he doesn't have a stable situation and has to make the most out of whatever chance he gets.
So the division is Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, and then
Chargers.
Who's the last one?
It is the
Chargers.
Chargers.
Sorry. Chargers. That's right. So, I mean, I guess in a division like this, you think, okay, well, you're not going to win the division. I mean, maybe you're Raiders fans and you hope that could happen, but with the Chiefs, you figure you're not going to win, so you're looking for a wild card spot. I mean, I think finishing second in that division is attainable. I know the Chargers are probably the favorite to challenge the Chiefs for a division title or finish second, get a wild card spot. But I don't know if I'm totally sold that the Chargers are um, right there right now. But that's just, I don't really love Jim Harbaugh, which is sort of my own bias. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe the Chargers are going to win a ton of games. I mean, Harbaugh is a great coach.
I mean, he never loses. I mean, that's like when you look at Harbaugh's record. I mean, this I think that this is going to put that sort of theory to the test. But in his career, Jim Harbaugh just doesn't really lose anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the guy already won at the University of San Diego. Like he was able to have success with a program that doesn't even give athletic scholarships.
I wonder how he did this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the Michigan leaving Michigan was certainly a necessity for Harbaugh, and we've seen this in the past. But he's such a weird guy because he has had success in the NFL level. Well, so it's not like it's hard to have one of those just boilerplate takes on someone like Harbaugh, because you can't be like, oh, well, the NFL is different than college, and these guys never succeed.
He was successful in the NFL too.
Yeah,
no,
right. That's what I'm saying. He's been successful everywhere.
If the power doesn't go out in New Orleans, he probably has a Super Bowl ring.
Maybe.
Probably. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. So I guess if I'm a Raiders fan, if I'm thinking about, okay, Minshew is a better choice than Aiden O'Connell, but for the most part, this is going to be a difficult uphill climb. Maybe we challenge the Chargers, maybe, but with A-Bear there, it seems like maybe A-Bear and or Herbert and
Herbert. You're
sorry. Yeah, well, look, I used to live in New Orleans, so
he's got his French going. It's got his French.
It's
good.
It's the one name where if you've like lived in that area of the country or whatever, like you never say Herbert, you just always say Aber. So I'm just so used to it but yeah, Justin Herbert. I don't know.
It's going to be tough. You got to feel bad for anyone in the AFC West that's not, the Chiefs, because I don't see any team getting a wild card from that division, most likely. The AFC East is pretty loaded, especially if the Jets are as good as you think and the Dolphins come up. But the AFC North, I mean, I just think it's for the Raiders and stuff. You got to temper your expectations, but you got to win the division, I think, to really get in there, and they're not going to do that. So it's just kind of just continue this rebuild process, try to be above 500, maybe see where the chips land. But I just think the AFC is so loaded that it's going to be tough to get a wild card out of that division.
Yeah, and the North, Mitch, as you alluded to, like the North doesn't have one dominant team, but all four teams are pretty good.
Yeah, all above 500 last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for the Bengals. The Bengals.
Yeah, but the Bengals got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bengals will be fine this year. Mitch, before we talk about the FedEx St. Jude Championship, which is taking place in Memphis right now, the golf tournament, let's just a couple minutes on the Steelers. As you're our Steelers beat writer, Steelers fan here. How are you feeling 2 weeks into the preseason? In a division as difficult as the AFC North, are you feeling optimistic so far?
It's that old adage, I don't know when it came up. It was the 40s, 50s, 60s. When you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. So it's kind of that feeling right now. Like, because Fields has, in the preseason game, his stats look good, but he fumbled 2 snaps. That is, those frustrating turnovers are why he's not in Chicago right now. So he's having an outstanding camp, per se, stats wise, and he's really turning some heads. He's a friendly player, so the locker room loves him, and he's thrown to Pickens all the time. So it's interesting, and obviously, obviously we have injuries. So I just want to see how Russ plays tonight. So, and that's on NFL Network. So I'll be looking at that. Everything else with the team, I think, is fine. They've set the offensive line, so the rookies are going to get to play, second-year players. So everything's set. It's all about the quarterback position. Someone needs to emerge from there, and if they do, then they'll be fine. But that's the question every NFL team has. But I have this feeling that's just like someone needs to win this competition this week and then be the clear starter rolling into week one, because Justin Fields is always going to win the hearts at camp. He's just so athletic. He's so good when it's not a real game. So he's going to win a lot of camps, I think. But you're going to need someone, if the Steelers and Tomlin's way, good defense, running game, you can't turn the ball over. And until Justin Fields proves that he doesn't turn the ball over, he's not going to be your starter. So Russ needs to emerge tonight, and I hope he does. I hope it's Russ, and I hope he continues his way. So it feels just the turnovers, man. It just I hope he gets rid of that because he could be a great player. So interesting. But again, I feel like we have I don't know if we upgraded. Like Mike Greenberg said it yesterday on ESPN. He's like kind of like the same quarterbacks, but just different. So I don't know. Well, let's see who emerges.
Dad, you carry the Steelers on your network. How do you feel about their chances here with the Fields Wilson quarterback competition? No, I think your sounds.
Can you? The host unmuted your mic. Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
You're good.
Listen, it was interesting what Mitch just said. It's like we got the same quarterbacks with different names. It's basically what he said. I don't see the Russell Wilson thing. I don't see it. I didn't see it from day one. He was horrible in Denver. He was horrible. I mean, he was brutal. And so I just like all of a sudden he goes to Pittsburgh and now he's, back to he's going to be MVP quarterback. I thought Fields was a better pick, but, he's turning the ball over. He didn't play well. That's why you have these preseason games. So, but, here's what you know about the Steelers, right? They're going to win their 9 games. They're going to win at home. They're going to grind you to death. And, what you hope is that Wilson doesn't lose you games the way some of their other quarterbacks did. They're going to run the football. They're going to play defense. That at the end of every game, Tom is going to say, I love my team. They played their hearts out. If we lost, we blew the game. Bad coaching, right? That's what he's going to say. So, I mean, there's something about this team. That's why they're Steelers Nation. They're very endearing. And the guy is a fit. And I know we had the big Tomlin thing last week. The guy's a winner. So, but I get your frustration, Mitch, because it's kind of like, where are we going with this? It's like, where are we going? I mean, when you don't really know what your quarterback is, I mean, you go to the Falcons, Cousins, you go to the Jets, Rodgers. I mean, you know where you're going. You go to the Titans, you're taking a shot with this kid. I don't know if he's any good. Titans Nation not sold, especially after the debacle he had on Thursday with the Seattle scrimmage. He was horrible. So you don't know. But you do know they're going to win their 9 games, and they're going to get in the playoffs again. That's what you do know. We'll see what happens. I like the competition.
Yeah, we'll see. Mitch is right. When you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. A lot of teams have tried that strategy in the past, and it is very difficult to make it work because of what Dan was saying.
Dan would remember this. The classic of all time was Dallas, and I don't know. Remember the year, Dan? I forget.
That's what I'm here for.
But Landry, Tom Landry was altered every play. He was alternating. Was it Staubach and somebody else, Cliff Longley or somebody, or Earl Morrell, somebody. Yeah. They was taking him out every other play. They had a new quarterback. That was he tried it that year. It was a catastrophe. They were losing games until finally they just went with Staubach because you can't do that. You got to have a leader. It's tough.
Yeah, it was the expansion year. They went 0-11-1.
Right.
Oh, good.
I forget they rotated 2 quarterbacks every single play, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you this right now, and then we're going to get to golf, Mitch. Tomlin's not going to do this. Like he's going to find his quarterback. He's going to announce it, and that's going to be the quarterback for the rest of the year. And he's not going to care. I mean, that's just how Mike Tomlin goes.
I could see a slash roll. The only time I could see a slash thing where Fields comes in for some packages, but you're right. Not coming back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be very clear who the leader is.
There are no relief pitchers in football.
Yeah.
Again, is Mariota still in the league, or is he retired?
Okay. I don't want to talk about Marcus Mariota. Let's move on to let's move on to golf here because we only have a couple of minutes. FedEx St. Jude Championship.
He's in the league.
Here.
He's hurt. He's on Washington's roster.
Okay, perfect. the FedEx St. Jude Championship. We're going to give you some winners here. We have been so on fire here with golf lately. So we'll give you a couple more picks. My computer is heating up, so I think I'm lagging on like everybody. I don't know if I'm lagging on y'all's end, but
issues.
We're good.
all right. So great, but everybody else is lagging. Like my computer's about to burst into flames. It's so hot out here. So Memphis St. Jude Championship, FedEx Cup, big tournament. Talk about hot, Nate. It's always extremely hot. This is a tough tournament. These guys are always struggling. They're always like sweating through their shirt. I was there last year. I love this tournament. It's a lot of fun. It's a great golf course. So Denny McCarthy and Hideki Matsuyama in the lead. Then we've got Sam Bermuda Burns and Scotty Scheffler right behind him. Justin Rose. I think Hovland is kind of an interesting choice here. But I guess before you get to your pick, because I know you're going to pick Nate, I want you to talk a little bit about Hideki, who I feel like has been playing extremely well in the last month or two and just hasn't been able to put together 4 rounds. But maybe he does it this time. He played well last year at this tournament as well. But I don't really see much value in McCarthy because I think he's going to fall apart. But Hideki, he's been playing well, Nate.
Yeah, so there's big storylines for both of these guys. Denny McCarthy is playing through a torn hip labrum, so he's playing through an injury. He's probably going to have surgery, or at the very least some rehab after the sort of golf postseason is over. So Denny McCarthy is playing through a very painful injury right now, and then Hideki is coming off a bronze medal at the Olympics, and then he's also coming off of a robbery in London that his wallet was stolen. His caddy lost his passport and visa, in addition to his coach losing his passport and visa. So nobody could travel with Hideki to the tournament. Hideki took the one other basically full-time PGA players that is Japanese. He took Ryo Hisatsune's caddy for this week because Hideki speaks English, but he's not terribly comfortable sometimes. So he needs a Japanese-speaking sort of interpreter / caddy with him. So he took Rio's caddy this week, so he's playing with sort of a fill-in because nobody else can travel because they're stuck in London. So weird storylines at the top there. And then Sam Burns, is having a great tournament at 10 under. And then Scotty Scheffler's 2 back, and he's always lurking coming off a gold medal finish, obviously, at the Olympics. So in terms of just betting this, though, I can't justify Scheffler's at like plus 180 most places. In a golf tournament, I can't justify plus 180 basically ever. I can't really justify Denny McCarthy, even though he's got a 1-shot lead right now or tied for the lead with a torn hip labrum. Like at some point that's going to start to fall out and his golf swing is going to start to fall apart. That's just not how that works. I guess like from a value perspective, I know that John's just like, he can't wait for me to stop teasing these picks. I like Sam Burns at plus 700. He's putting really well. Anytime a tournament gets onto Bermuda grass greens, Sam Burns is suddenly a really dangerous player. A lot of players don't like Bermuda. Sam Burns excels on the surface. So I like Sam Burns at plus 7.
I just bet Sam Burns at 7-1.
Yep. And then I'll give you one more deeper down. This is when Hovland sort of kicked off his run last year that culminated with him winning the FedEx Cup. Hovland at 20-1 is extremely interesting.
Ooh, I'm down with this.
He played excellent yesterday. And I think that, if the ball striking continues to come together for him, he's going to be a real factor here. And he's a guy that can beat Scotty. He has before.
All right, I got Hovland at 20-1. Just so everybody knows, Nate Perry has picked 5 out of the last 6 golf tournament winners. All of them 10-1 or over. 5 out of the last 6. This has got to be the greatest run in golf in the history of betting golf. There's nobody in Vegas has ever done this. He picked 5 out of 6, and guess what? I bet them all. I got all these winners. I got money in my account I never knew I would ever have in there. So I'm betting baseball games and stuff. Hey, you're the man. So I just get you 2 bets again. We're going for 6 or 7, baby.
Is that how you got the TV fixed? Use that cash?
Oh yeah, man! I bought 2 Fire Sticks. I don't even know what a Fire Stick was. Ann said he had a Fire Stick. I didn't even know what it was. Like to make a fire in a fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
No,
That's
it's
what
some
it
kind
is.
of thing you hook up to the internet.
That's what it is.
Larry did it. I didn't even know what the hell it was.
Yeah. So I mean,
Larry-
yeah.
Larry's a
continue,
bus
Larry.
driver. He fixed the TV. TV hasn't. I haven't figured out in 18 months. Larry's like,
Yeah, yeah.
well, we need a fire stick. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What the hell's that?
Larry
So
Larry
got it.
comes through for you and fixes the TV, and then you go on the radio and tell everybody that he orders too much McDonald's. So, shout out to Larry there.
Larry's
Okay,
a
well,
Nate-
guys.
Nate- Nate's on
a
fire.
Larry
I love
John
both
show.
those picks. I've got Sam Burns as well at 9-1, and I've got Victor Hovland at 22-1. So I feel the same way. That's the Godzilla Win Saturday picks show. I will see you all next week. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great week of sports. See you next week. Have a good week. Goodbye, everybody.
And every day, don't forget to go to GodzillaWins.com. GodzillaWins.com. We got articles up every day. You can read Dan, you can read Mitch, you can read Nate, you can read Jack. Go to GodzillaWins.com. And you get my picks on Daily Picks. Go to GodzillaWins.com, Daily Picks, and we're all up there. And baseball, I'm hot as a pepper. I beat Dan head-to-head last week. That's my claim to fame in life. Have a great week.
Weird flex.
A great week.